Dear friends, as pastor, I'm privy to a lot of your lives, and I know that there's an incredible amount of suffering going on lots of levels. Lives are lost, and we're grieving that. We have people in the hospital suffering pain and big questions of whether they're going to survive or not. We have our own interior struggle with our stuff, anger and just confusion, vices and stuff that we struggle with. You know, our interior pain, spiritual pain, may be the worst of all. We all of us bear far more much pain than we even realize. And we're quite resilient when you really get down to it. If you could step away and see what we're all suffering, it'd be a lot. Now, with that in mind, we come to this passage in Colossians for this weekend. Brothers and sisters, now I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake. That's interesting. Being joyful in suffering, right? And in my flesh, I am filling up what is lacking in the afflictions of Christ on behalf of his body, which is a church. Wow. What does that mean? This is one of the most famous problems in the New Testament because we all know that Christ's sufferings were unique and that they are sufficient to cover the sins of the whole world. We know that. Paul knows that. He says that elsewhere. So, what does he mean? Now I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake, and in my flesh I'm filling up what is lacking in the afflictions of Christ on behalf of his body. Well, I've been doing some digging around and thinking through this, and it seems to me that what Paul is thinking in the background of his thought is that we live in the last times, okay? That's how the church understands this era that we live in. It's the last days. And the apostles were very conscious of that. It was inaugurated by Christ in his first coming. So between his first coming and second coming is a time period. And God knows the exact extent of this time period. And if you look at the prophets and what Jesus said, that there is a definite quota, so to speak, I can't think of another word, of suffering, right? God determined that there's a certain amount of suffering that goes on in this church. Okay. It's not infinite, it's limited. And so Paul is joyful that he's suffering so much for them, and he's willing to suffer more for the church, because the more he suffers, the less the church has to suffer, okay? Because he's taking a bigger chunk, so to speak, of what's allotted of the whole, right? And I'm sure that makes sense to you, but that is sort of an eschatological or last days way to understand this very complex thing that Paul's thinking about. It's kind of like tears in a bottle, or suffering, or tears. They're precious to God, but the bottle's finite. And there's going to be a day when they're all filled up. And when that day comes, then the Lord will come and he'll make sense of all the tears in the bottle. So if you can understand it that way, is that he's willing to give as many tears as he can, to fill it up as much as he can, so so the less the church will suffer. That's what he's saying here. I think it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? To talk this way. I mean, it's really a Christ-like thing, and self-gifting. But so, dear brothers and sisters, we do suffer. There's a lot of things going on, and I know that. But the truth of the matter is, our suffering is temporal. Our joy will be eternal. So these are some of the things I'm thinking about this week. I hope it touches your heart. See you on Sunday. God bless.